All righty. Well, I am going to bring David Dorr onto our stream, Jason. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yep.
All right. CEO at Coro Global. David, what's up, man? Welcome to the Power Hour. How are you doing?
Thank you. Nice to see you. How are you?
Doing well. You know, getting my ass kicked in this market a little bit today, but you know, it happens. So, what's up with you?
Oh man, working hard, building a business, growing our company, and been deep in the weeds on that. Long days and nights, but enjoying the journey.
There we go. All right. So tell us about the company. Tell us about the product, etc.
Yeah. So a quick snapshot on us. We're a fintech company headquartered in Miami, Florida. That's the company right there, Coro Global. And what Coro Global does is that we are a money transmission business that allows you through a mobile app to be able to transact and transmit dollars, and most importantly, to be able to transact gold. And this is very important because you see all the enthusiasm that's out there in the crypto market right now, and Bitcoin, of course, always stealing the headlines. If we historically look at why Bitcoin is interesting to people, it's because Bitcoin holds the promise of functioning quasi like a digital gold. Well, for us, we think that you can do a lot better than that. Number one, from a cryptographic perspective, there are ledgers that are far superior to Bitcoin. And we use one that we think is leaps and bounds better than all blockchain solutions. It's a directed acyclic graph approach, which is called Hashgraph. And we marry that with physical gold. So instead of pretending to be digital gold, you've got actual real gold. And you can transact. We're federally licensed in the United States as a money transmitter, as well as in 27 states plus the District of Columbia. And we're on our way to nationwide coverage. So for those that like precious metals and want to actually have real exposure to it, as well as being able to use it as money, not just being able to save in it, Coro's the place for you.
So let me ask you this question then. So you know, let's say I deposit $1,000 into the account. Then are you buying that much physical metal to hold like as a representation of my account, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So think of your account as a multi-currency account. So when you first download the Coro app, you're able to connect it to your bank account. We're connected to the entire US banking system. And so let's take your example. You transfer $1,000 over. That will then sit in your USD balance. So you have $1,000 in your Coro account. Now, before we even touch gold, it's important that you know that you can then send that on to any other Coro user. And what's important about this is that settles in real time. So one of the big problems of the banking system, as I'm sure you're aware, it's the reason that people like crypto again.
The stock market has the same issue too.
Same issue, right? Robinhood got slapped with this, hard with the GameStop issues. It's a T+2 market. Currencies are a T+2 market. Equities are a T+2 market on average globally. And DLT possesses the ability to get past that. That's why we use it. So even in dollars, it's important to know that you can transmit those instantaneously. Now, let's say that you want to buy some gold. Gold is down over the last 60 days. So great opportunity for those that have been accumulating it over the last several years and want to accumulate more with anticipation of inflation kicking in. You can then buy however much you want. That $1,000, whether you want to buy $1,000 worth or $1 worth, you can click a button. You will buy that gold instantaneously through our app. It's cleared and settled in real time. And then you will see that in your XAU balance. Now, XAU is the international currency code for gold, as I'm sure you and many of your users are aware. So now you would be able to, let's say you bought $500 worth of gold, you'd see that reflected in the XAU as well as your $500 balance in your US dollar account.
Got it. Okay. And then how does the transacting with gold works? I think that's interesting because it's not like I can go to a store and say, hey, here's $100 worth of gold to buy this shirt or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, that's been the big limitation with gold. As we tell customers, it's not really whether or not we're going to have another financial crisis. The next one is coming. It's a reality. The math certainly proves that. The question is, what are you going to be able to do on the other side? How are we going to rebuild our societies, our economies? And we need stable money for that. And in order to do that, you need to be able to commercially transact. First, at least with individuals. So we give people the ability to send, receive, exchange with gold. As we continue to evolve our platform, we will create business accounts as well, so that if you want to go buy a coffee or a car, you will be able to do that transaction with gold.
Okay, got it. All right, it's interesting. And how many users are on the platform thus far, or at least ballpark it for us?
Yeah, so we've got a couple thousand users. We launched the product in August, and as I mentioned,
where have the users come from? That's something I'm always interested in.
Yeah,
A few thousand since August is pretty impressive.
it's not bad. We're certainly happy with that, and considering that we've done barely any marketing, that's very nice, kind of feather in our cap as a milestone there.
Mm-hmm.
We see it from all over. So we have our biggest user base is of course Florida, where we're headquartered, and Florida was one of our first licenses. So this makes sense. Georgia is our second biggest state as far as users. And what's nice about this to share with you is that when you look at the wide swath of users, you would think that maybe that's people that are gold bugs, people that are, have an affinity for crypto, and there's a connection there. But what we found from doing multiple customer interviews, we're touching everybody in society, which is really actually nice. So we have a very, very, very diverse demographic of users, and we hope that remains the case.
Okay, and I would imagine it appeals a little bit, and tell me if I'm wrong, to sort of like you alluded to it, sort of that not doomsday crowd, but the crowd who is waiting for, okay, our current financial system is going to collapse. We need some other solution. Is that fair to say?
Well, yes, that's a portion of it, kind of the modern day preppers, if you will. But what we're finding most interesting, where there's probably the fastest acceleration, is millennials and below that are intellectually curious as to how our financial system works. So my career background, I've got 25 years in trading markets as with a focus on global macroeconomics. And we're finding
wait, hold on. You can't tease us with the trading on the trading show. We got to ask, all right, what assets were you trading? Who were you trading for, et cetera?
Yeah, so I also have an asset management company, which is called Dorr Asset Management. We're a multifamily office. My background is trading primarily derivatives. Started off trading commodity derivatives a couple decades ago. Then that moved into other over-the-counter derivatives. My prior fintech company was a institutional exchange for the insurance industry, and all our clients were Wall Street banks. But in global macro, we trade all asset classes, both directions, top-down approach, as you would expect. But we run approximately 70% futures in our books. And then there's, of course, equities and fixed income in those.
And are you running futures on commodities or futures on indices or equity indexes or what?
Everything. All types of futures. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. But all right. Sorry, I cut you off. Keep going. You're talking about among millennial users.
Correct. Well, so your show's a good example, right? With what Benzinga's successfully done, and congratulations on that to you and your team.
You.
I think you guys are serving a thirst. You're satisfying a thirst that's in the market there, and
at least.
Yeah, yeah, and people are hungry. People want to learn. They want to understand, and so we're really focused on helping people understand. Not that, hey, listen, buy gold because the sky might fall in, but what's gold's historical role, and how does that differ? One of the big things that we've been educating people on, a huge topic, is the misconceptions with how crypto and blockchain and DLT works. This whole kind of gold versus Bitcoin debate has been a really murky world for people. So we get a lot of questions about that. That's a big conversational point.
Okay, awesome. And I'm seeing in the chat, I'm guessing it's some sort of Coro representative saying that you guys are getting ready to uplist to the NASDAQ.
Yeah, I don't know if that was any of our reps throwing that out there, but yes, that is hopefully the intention. We did file an S1, so Coro is traded over the counter. We're an OTCQB company on OTC markets. You can see our filings. We did file an amended S1 at the end of January. And so, yes, our intention is to do an IPO and uplisting. So,
okay, that's exciting.
Yeah. We're very excited. It's a big deal for sure.
Okay, and then let me ask you. This is always my favorite question to ask. Well, if you had to name one thing you're most excited about, what would it be?
The number one thing that we're most excited about is that we feel that this is a product that's going to change people's lives. And when we do fall on some tough times, this is going to be the differentiator for some of those that would or would not have made it through. And so that mission that we're serving feels really good to us, and we're deeply excited about that.
Okay, and I'm going to grab this question out of the chat. It's asking about, are users insured? You know,
Yeah,
are the assets insured, guaranteed?
yeah. So one of the things we spent a long time on, and this is very common, anybody that's into precious metals, paranoia always comes up very quickly. How secure are the systems? How is it custodied? Is it allocated? So to just run through that checklist for you, yes, we're fully insured. We use independent vaults outside of the banking system. What's nice and very unique about what we do, in addition to the cybersecurity layers that we have, is that the gold that's held for customers, it's held with what are called bailment rights. So that means effectively that you hold title to your gold at all times, regardless of the amount that you hold. And that's very unique. It was a huge legal and technological and logistical lift to make that happen. And I believe we stand unique in the world for having pulled that off. But very important question.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then if users want to check it out, they want to check out the platform. What's the best way to go do that? And then also layer on there a second question: how do they keep in touch with you guys?
Yeah, great question. So our main website is very simple. It's coro.global, coro.global. You can also, if you go into the app stores, both iOS and Android, you will see our app available. And if you're in one of our 27 states, you'll be able to get into the app and start transacting with us. You can find me on Twitter. I'm David Dorr on Twitter. That's one of the most common places. And then we also recently launched a Telegram channel. So if you look up Coro channel on Telegram, you will find us there, and great ways to interact with us.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go off of Coro for a second, but over to the multifamily office.
Sure.
General macro thoughts right now. Curious where you're at with things.
I think that so our theme as a macro shop is that stagflation is a very real concern. And for your audience that might not be familiar with that term, stagflation is when you get an increase in the things that you need, the price. So let's say food and energy, and then you get a fall in the things where you might have your investments, stocks and bonds. This is a very, very, very rough environment. We last saw that in the 70s in the United States. And most people don't have a good context for how brutal that is. So you've seen that reflected in bond markets. If you've looked at yields on the 2s, 30s, 10s, 5s, everything, yields have been going up. And I think that it's very, very important for people to understand, especially traders that are long technology stocks and a lot of other equities in the market, that as yields go up, there's a lot of embedded leverage in high growth companies, really high leverage. And it does not take a whole uptick, large uptick in yields to hit things. On the other side, where we do see opportunity,
and let's explain that. Let's go through that a little bit, because that's something that's been getting tossed around a ton, but I don't think a lot of people understand it. Sure. Is it basically when investors are looking at like an NPV or like cash flows of these companies, and there's a significant change in the risk-free rate that's used to discount sort of those future cash flows? That's where the leverage is embedded.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you see this too. If you look at the option adjusted spreads on junk bonds as an example, they're historical lows. They're trading sub 5%. I mean, this is just that's completely insane. There's no historical context for that. So when those things go up, those highly geared companies are very vulnerable to being able to service their debt. Another example of this that I use a lot that I think is really, really important for people to grasp is that last year we hit a peak of sovereign debt, $17 trillion with negative yields. And that should be on the front, to me, that should be on the front page of every single financial magazine. Like that's completely distorted markets. So you have a lot of asymmetry when those things tip. And people think that, look, if yields came down and you and I and all of society, we just refinanced our positions, our homes and everything else.
Which is what just happened.
Yeah, which never happens. Then it would be okay. But instead, people lever up. They turn their homes into ATMs and you get HELOCs and you're just building the kindling for the next crisis.
Okay. So longer term, at least, it sounds sort of medium term as well, bearish on global equity markets.
Yes, with the exception of I would pay very, very close attention to commodity equities. Look at John Deere.
Okay.
Yeah, take a look at John Deere. John Deere.
Wait. Come on. All right. Give me more.
Yeah, you're trading. You can look it up right now.
I know. I can go look at it, but why do you like the stock? I'm curious. The ticker there is DEER, right? Yeah. No. I'm sorry. DE. Delta Echo.
Yeah. So what's interesting about John Deere? Oh yeah, perfect. So there
we go. Okay, I'll do a zoom out. Here's a 1 year chart on it.
Yep. So you can see steady, just cranking. And the part of this is that commodities have been underinvested in for decades. And if you look at there's been lots of charts, Goldman's put them out. There's been a bunch of charts over the last couple of years that show the ratio of the S&P 500 versus commodity index. And it's been trading at a historical highs in that valuation. Equities super high, commodities super low. And so if you think that commodities are going to head into a boom phase, and we do, and especially when you have the COVID disruption in supply chains too, so you got an extra tailwind there if you're long commodities. You look at some of the equities, you can get a lot of extra bang for your buck. A lot of these guys are going to do very well. We're very long agricultural plays across the board, both in the futures instruments as well as companies like John Deere, and we believe that that's just, it's a strong place to be. It's a good spot to be watching.
Okay. All right, man. I like it. There we go. So we not only talked about Coro, we got a market analysis.
Sure.
We got a stock idea.
Yep.
And an airborne. There we
Nice.
go. All right, we're running it up. David, thanks for hopping on with us today, man.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. Have a great day.
Absolutely.